Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Vakradanda Mahakaya Surikoti Samaprabha Nirvighనం Gurume Deva Sarvakarye Sarvada Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Sarvalokanam Bhise Vivaroganam Nidehe Sarvavidyanam Sri Dakshinamurte Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire नमो धर्माय महदे नमः कृष्णाय वेदसे ब्राह्मणेभ्यो नमस्कृत्य धर्मान् वक्ष्यामि शाश्वतान् नमो भगवते तस्मै व्यासाय मितुतेश्री यस्य प्रसादात् वक्ष्यामि नारायणकथामिमां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्. So previously we looked at the final part of this Drona Parva as Vyasa narrates that Shatrudriya to Arjuna, and then he departs, and Sanjaya concludes the narration saying that after fighting 15 days, 5 days leading that in the battlefield and fighting total for 15 days, right? So first 10 days under Bhishma's command and then 5 days leading the Kaurava troops, that Brahmana Drona dies, and that's the conclusion of the Drona Parva. So we will look at today just a recap of this Drona Parva, entire Drona Parva from beginning to now, what all we looked at in this Drona Parva, what are the events that took place, and then we will go from there. So as you remember, in the previous Parva, Bhishma Parva, at the end of that, Bhishma was killed by Arjuna with Shikandini and his chariot and killed. So that's where we saw. And then at that time, Sanjaya returns to Hastinapura and it narrates about Bhishma's death. And then he goes back to Kurukshetra and engages in the battle. So at the end of 15th day, he returns to Hastinapura. And that's where the Drona Parva starts. He returns to Hastinapura and Dhritarashtra asks, what did Kauravas do after Bhishma's death? And Sanjaya says that Kauravas remembered after Bhishma's death, they remembered Karna because Karna was barred from this battlefield by Bhishma and was not allowed. So, or they had dispute, and that's why Karna walked out of that battlefield and he said he will not fight until Bhishma was there. So now all the Kauravas remembered Karna, and Karna returns to battlefield and he seeks Bhishma's blessing and vows to Duryodhana and others that he will gain the victory for Duryodhana. And Duryodhana looks for new commander, new chief to guide the troops, and Karna recommends that Drona should lead, and Drona is the one well acquainted with all the weapons, and he is the Brahmana, is respected by everybody, he should lead, and Drona agrees to that. On the other side, Arjuna leads the Pandavas, again Drishtadyumna is their commander, Arjuna leads the Pandava troops, Drona forms the arrays, and he breaks, Sanjaya says that Drona breaks that Panchala troops, Pandavas suffer at the hands of Drona, and after killing more than 2 Akshoni of Pandava Panchala troops assembled there, Drona was killed by Drishtadyumna. When all the troops cried shame, shame, like this on that Drishtadyumna, he killed that Brahmana Drona. That's how Sanjaya narrates, and he concludes that 5 days events in about in a very short 5-minute explanation what happened. So Dhritarashtra, hearing this, he cries on Drona's death and he asks how Drona was killed, and he thinks that there was nobody among Pandavas who is capable of killing Drona apart from Krishna, because then he describes, Dhritarashtra describes the glories and greatness of Krishna, Keshava. He narrates his greatness and then he says it must be Krishna who must have killed it. And then Sanjaya starts narrating the events that took place from the 11th day morning, what all happened. So we look at the detailed narration now of that summary Sanjaya just said. So on the 11th day morning, Duryodhana seeks a boon from Drona after consulting Karna, Dushasana and Shakuni, the boon of capturing Yudhishthira alive. He thinks that Drona is never going to kill the Pandavas, so if we capture him alive, then we have won the battle and we can then kill the Yudhishthira or whoever it is, whatever we want to do, we can do that. So that's what Duryodhana thinks. So he seeks that boon, and Drona agrees on the condition that Arjuna should be removed from the battlefield, because if Arjuna is there, we will not be able to capture Yudhishthira. So Kauravas prepare for the battle. Yudhishthira, learning Drona's intentions, he asks Arjuna to protect him. And then the battle begins. Drona grinds that Panchala troops. Abhimanyu battles many warriors, Jayadratha, Shalya, and so on. Bhishma defeats Shalya. So the battle takes place between various warriors on the both sides on the 11th day. Drona finally pushes towards Yudhishthira. At that time, Panchala princess Vagradatta, Singasena, they come, and Drona kills those princes, Panchala princes, and then Drona nears King Yudhishthira. At that time, as he was just about to attack Yudhishthira and capture him, Arjuna arrives and Arjuna stops him. And with that, the battle of the 11th day battle concludes. And then at the end of that day, at night, Kauravas discuss how to keep Arjuna away from the battlefield, because if Arjuna is anywhere nearby, he will come and rescue Yudhishthira, so we will not be able to capture. So they start thinking. At that time, Trigarta warriors, Susharman and others, they make a vow that they will not return home, either without killing Arjuna or dying in that battlefield. They take such a vow, and at that time, again, as part of that, we looked at some of the Dharma Shastras that said how they made that vow, right? If we return without achieving, or we run away, let this sin be ours, and things like that, they said. So they said, listed out all the sins that one could accrue by doing Dharma Shastra statements they read out. So they, on the battle on the 12th day, they challenge Arjuna, and Arjuna asked Satyajit to protect Yudhishthira and goes after Trigartas. Arjuna destroys those Samshaptakas. So Samshaptakas again is those who have taken vow to die in the battlefield, either win or die. They will not run away. They will not return without victory from the battlefield. So those Samshaptakas, he destroys them. He kills the Narayana Sena. He kills Lalityas, Malavas, Mavelagas, Trigartas, and many others. So that are there. He destroys all of them. Drona, on the other hand, forms Garuda Vyuha, Garuda array in the form of Garuda. Durmukha supports Drona. Drona rushes towards Yudhishthira, and Satyajit resists Drona. Drona, in that battle, kills Vrika. Yudhishthira runs away from Drona, and then Shatanika, Virata, who is Virata's brother, attacks Drona, and he also dies in that battlefield. Drona defeats Chedis, Karushas, Kaikiyas, Panchalas, Srinjayas, and the Pandavas repeatedly. Pandavas united again and again. They attack Drona. Drona kills Dhritasena, Kshema, Kshatradeva, all these warriors. He kills them. Duryodhana was very much delighted with the progress, and responding to Dhritarashtra, that narration, Sanjaya says that at that time Dhritarashtra asks him how did people identify who is whom, and things like that. Sanjay narrates the color of the horses, the indications, the standards, the bows, the arrows, and various things that the warriors were wearing or carrying. So that's how they used to identify each other and things like that. So then, returning again to the narration of the battlefield, Sanjay narrates how Bhagadatta kills Ruchiparvan and penetrates into that Panchala troops. Meanwhile, the Samshaptakas again challenge Arjuna again and again. Those remaining Samshaptakas, Arjuna battles them with Brahmastra and kills the Trigarta brothers of Susharman. And Arjuna finally reaches Bhagadatta, and he battles and he cuts off the armor of that elephant which Bhagadatta was riding, and kills the warrior supporting Bhagadatta. Bhagadatta releases Vaishnavastra, and Krishna takes that weapon on his breast, and that weapon becomes a garland to him. And then Krishna explains about Bhagadatta's birth, and after that, Arjuna strikes Bhagadatta and he drops dead. So then we also learn about two Gandhara princes, Vrishaka and Achala. They attack Arjuna and they were killed by Arjuna. Shakuni creates illusions and Arjuna baffles all of that and defeats Shakuni. Arjuna continues to destroy the Kaurava troops. Pandavas united together. They go after Drona. Nila battles Ashwatthama and he was killed by Ashwatthama. And Arjuna kills Karna's brother Shatrunjaya Vipata. And then the battle like that on the 12th day, second day of Drona's command, that comes to a close with heavy losses on the both the sides. Many warriors killed on both the sides. So Drona killed many, and similarly Arjuna destroyed a lot of troops on Trigarthas, Bhagadatta, and like that Kandara princes and things like that. And then the 13th day, Drona starts the day by making a promise that on that day he will take the life of a Pandava hero, Pandava warrior. And Sanjaya says that Abhimanyu was killed, and Dhritarashtra asks him for narration of all the events. And Sanjaya continues his narration. He says that Drona formed Chakravyuha, the circular view array, on that day, and Arjuna was taken away again by the Samshaptakas, and Yudhishthira asks Abhimanyu's help, and Abhimanyu enters the array and battles all the warriors. Duryodhana was defeated, then Drona, Ashwatthama, Kripa, Karna, Kritavarma, Shakuni's sons, Bradbala, Shalya, Bhuri, Bhurishrava, Sala, Paurava, Prishasena all attack, and they all attack and they rescue Duryodhana from Abhimanyu's hands. Abhimanyu was overpowering him and about to kill him. At that time, they rescue him, all together attacking Abhimanyu. Then Karna, Shalya were defeated by Abhimanyu. Shalya's brother was killed, and the troops started running away. Drona urges all of them to unite together and attack. Duryodhana, Karna, Balika, Dushasana, Shalya, all of them attack. Dushasana was defeated and he swoons and he was taken away. Karna battles and his brother was killed by Abhimanyu. Like this, the battle, Abhimanyu continues in that battlefield. Meanwhile, Jayadratha alone single-handedly resists the Pandavas from entering that Chakravyuha because of the boon he had from Shankara Mahadeva himself. Abhimanyu's path was closed, so the path behind Abhimanyu was closed. Vrishasena was defeated by Abhimanyu. Shalya's son Rukmanatha was killed, and hundreds of princes were killed by Abhimanyu in that battlefield. Then Lakshmana comes forward, and he dies in that battlefield. Krata's son Brindaraka and Brihadbala were also killed by Abhimanyu. Dushasana's son comes there and he survives the battle. Abhimanyu, he was defeated, but he survives, escapes from death. Abhimanyu kills Shatrunjaya, Chandraketu, Mahamegha, and then Suvarchas, Suryabhasa. These are all killed, and then Duryodhana urges all of them united together to attack Abhimanyu. Karna was badly injured, Kritavarma was hurt, and 7 Gandhara followers and 10 great chariot riders of Brahma Savitiya were also killed. Then Karna cuts off Abhimanyu's bow. Kritavarman kills the horses. Kripa kills the Pashni charioteers, and then Abhimanyu then starts fighting on foot. His charioteer, everything was destroyed. He starts fighting on the foot. He takes the chariot wheel, and through that he fights. And then at that time, Dushasana's son, who earlier was defeated by Abhimanyu, kills Abhimanyu. And the battle ends for that day. Yudhishthira cries for Abhimanyu's death. And then at that time, Vyasa arrives there, and we see Yudhishthira asking, "What is Mrityu? What is death?" And him explaining that all the great achievements of the Raja Rishis, the kings and the emperors who lived life like a rishi as an ascetic, like King Maruta, Suhotra, Paurava, Shibi, Rama, Bhagirath, Dilipa, Mandatri, Yayati, Ambarisha, Shatabindu, Gaya, Rantideva, Bharata, Prutu, Parashurama, and Vyasa says that like all those Raja Rishis, Abhimanyu also attained heaven and he is shining in the heaven. He's enjoying, he's now attained that heaven. And with that, Vyasa returns, and then at that time, Arjuna returns and he learns about Abhimanyu's death, and he vows to kill Jayadratha or enter the fire pit in the next day. So, like this, Arjuna makes a vow, takes a vow, and coming to know this, Jayadratha prepares to leave the battlefield and run to home, but he was stopped by Duryodhana with the promise of protection and wishing for Arjuna's death. So, Duryodhana either wishes that if they succeed, then Arjuna is going to die and battle is going to end. So, like this, he puts Jayadratha on as a dice and then as a pawn in that battlefield, and then he prepares that. Krishna consoles Subhadra, and he also asks Daruka to prepare his chariot with all the weapons and everything for the next day's battle. And on that night, Arjuna dreams of Krishna taking him to Kailasa, and they worship Mahadeva in there with Parvati. And Shankara himself reminds Arjuna of that Pashupata mantra, the weapon mantra, he reminds him. And then next morning, we see on the 14th day, we learn about the morning rituals of Yudhishthira, how he prepares and things like that. And then Arjuna asks Satyaki to be King Yudhishthira's protector on that day from Drona. Drona as well on that day prepares the Shakata and half Chakravyuha. He prepares that, keeps Jayadratha at the back protected by 6 great Maharathis, and himself, Drona himself, leads the line of that Vyuha, that array. And Arjuna attacks, Dushasana defeated, and then he runs to Drona. And Arjuna attacks Drona, the battle continues, but then Drona says that you will not pass me today. And so there is no way you can go beyond me if you continue to fight. So then Arjuna then realizes that, and he seeks Drona's blessing, and then Arjuna leaves Drona behind and then goes forward. Drona chases him, but he could not stop Arjuna. So Arjuna on a single chariot, he goes forward. Kritavarman stops Arjuna, and Arjuna continues the battle in that. So Arjuna's supporting warriors Yudhamani and Uttamoja, they started having battle with Kritavarman. So Arjuna now left alone with Krishna, and he goes forward with leaving Yudhamani Uttamoja as well. King Satyayuda, who is the son of Varuna and river Parnasa, so he comes forward and he was killed by his own mace as he hurled it against Krishna. And we learn about why he had that mace from Varuna and the story behind that. Then Sudakshina, son of Kamboja king, was killed. Then with Shritayus, Achyutayus, Niyatayus, Dirghayus they were killed. Many Yavanas, Paradas, Shakas, Balikas, Mlechas who were born from Vasishta's cow Nandini, they were killed, and Darbha Bisaras, Daradas, Pondras were also killed in thousands. And 60,000 horsemen, 1,000 great Kshatriyas were killed along with 1,000 elephants. Then Shruta, the ruler of Ambastas, was also killed. Seeing this, Duryodhana becomes very angry. He rebukes Drona for favoring Arjuna. Drona responds and fits him with the impenetrable armor. Jayadratha remained protected by Karna, Ashwatthama, Bhurishrava, Kripa, Vrishasena, Sala, Shalya at that time, and Pandavas united attacked Drona. Satyaki, Drishtadimna, they battled Drona, and Arjuna meanwhile progresses. He comes across Anuvinda of Avanti, and they were killed. Krishna, in that battlefield, he stops the chariots, and the tired horses were fed and made to drink water using a lake created by Arjuna in that battlefield. Then Duryodhana chases Arjuna and attacks. Arjuna kills his horses, sends him away. Duryodhana was wearing that impenetrable armor given by Drona. And then Arjuna nears Jayadratha. Krishna and Arjuna blow their conch shells loudly. Hearing this, Yudhishthira thinks that Yudhishthira in that battle again, he was battling Drona. He was made horseless. Sahadeva rescues him. Kshemadruti was killed by Bhraskshatra. Drishtaketu kills Veeravardhan. Sahadeva kills Niramatra. Satyaki kills Vyagradatta. Draupadi's son kills Somadatta's son. Like this, the battle was taking place. Bhima battles Alambusha and defeats him. Alambusha then goes after Gadodgaja. Alambusha was Rishishringa's son, was killed by Gadodgaja in that battlefield. And then Drona battles Satyaki. Satyaki did not have any answers to him. Drona kills 25 Panchala Maharathis in that battlefield. And then Yudhishthira was worried about Arjuna, and then he sends Satyaki, and Bhima becomes Yudhishthira's protector. Drona stops Satyaki, but Satyaki also leaves Drona behind, learning how Arjuna went past. And then next stop was Kritavarman, and again defeats Kritavarman, leaves behind him as well, and then goes forward. Bhima, Shikandini, they battle Kritavarma. Satyaki comes to, again they were battling, and Satyaki comes back and then defeats Kritavarman again to help Bhima and Shikandi, and then goes towards again Arjuna. And Satyaki goes and destroys the elephant division. Drona, Kritavarman, again they check Satyaki, but Satyaki defeats both of them once more, and then he moves forward. Satyaki progresses. He kills Sudarshana, Mlechas, Kambojas, Sakas, Barbaras, thousands of mountaineers who battled with stone and things like that. He defeats Duryodhana, Shakuni, Dushyasana, Dussaha, Chitrasena, Durmukha, and others. So, meanwhile, Drona battles the Panchalas, kills the princes Chitraketu, Sudanvan, Chitravarman, Chitraratha. Like this, he kills them. Drishtadyumna at that time reaches Drona's chariot, but he was made to turn back. So Dushyasana comes back to Satyaki after being scolded by Drona, and he was again defeated, and he was made to run again. Drona, meanwhile, in the battle, kills Kekeya Prince Drishtaketu of Chedi, Sahadeva, Jarasanda's son Sahadeva, and Kshatradarman, who is Drishtadyumna's son, and then he defeats Chekitana as well. Yudhishthira at that time, meanwhile, was concerned about Satyaki, and he sends Bhima, and then now Drishtadyumna became the Yudhishthira's protector. So they started with Satyaki being a protector, and then Bhima, and then now Drishtadyumna became the protector. So Bhima heads towards Satyaki and Drona. So on his way, unlike Satyaki and Arjuna, Bhima battles Drona and defeats him. Kritavarman as well, he defeats him and kills three brothers, Kshema, Kundabedin, Sushenan, Dirganetra, and then he kills Brindaraka, Abhaya, Rudrakarman, Durvimochana, Vinda, Anuvinda, Suvarman, Sudarshan. So Bhima then battles Karna and defeats him repeatedly, about 4 or 5 times he defeats him, and finally Karna gets the better of him and Karna defeats him. Bhima runs, Karna catches him and he insults him, saying that he should not be in the battlefield and things like that. He insults him a lot. He insults Bhima a lot. And then during that battle, in front of Karna, Bhima Karna, so again, I said 4 or 5 times he battles. Each time, so first time Bhima kills Durjaya, Dushasana's brother. Again, second time when Karna returns after being defeated, he kills Durmukha. And third round, he kills Durmarshana, Dussaha, Durmada, Durdara, Jaya. And then in the fourth round, he kills Chitra, Upachitra, Charuchitra, Susharnan, Chitravidha, Chitravarman. And then in the fifth round, he kills Shatrunjaya, Shatrusaha, Chitravidha, and Drida, Chitrasena, Vikarna. So total 31 brothers were killed in that progress, while Bhima was making that progress. So seeing like this, so every time Karna defeated, Duryodhana's brothers come to Karna's rescue, they were killed. And then Karna comes back, he gets defeated, and then like this. So 5 rounds defeat Karna, and then like this he kills Bhima, total 31 of Duryodhana's brothers. And then Bhima, seeing Bhima in trouble, defeated by Karna, finally Arjuna comes and sends Karna and Ashwatthama away from Bhima. At that time, Alambusha checks Satyaki's progress and he was killed, and Satyaki defeats Dushasana and reaches Arjuna after defeating 50 Trigartha warriors, Trigartha princes. And then at that time, Bhurishra stops Satyaki from going towards Arjuna, and he defeats Satyaki and kicks him in the chest while dragging him by the hair. At that time, Bhurishrava was about to cut off Satyaki's head, but Arjuna releases an arrow and cuts off Bhurishrava's arm. He was about to kill Satyaki. Then Bhurishrava enters Praya meditation, and at that time Satyaki kills him while Bhurishrava was sitting in Praya. So Arjuna nears Jayadratha with Satyaki and Bhima nearby him. And at that time, all the Kauravas battle. He defeats all of them. Battle continues. One after another Kauravas attack, and then Arjuna keeps defeating them. They keep coming back. Seeing this, Krishna creates a darkness, kind of illusion. Kauravas think that it's already sunset has happened, and they relax. And then at that point, Arjuna kills Jayadratha and sends his head to flying towards his father Vriddakshatra, and Vriddakshatra drops that head, and then he himself blown out into thousands of pieces. And then Krishna removes that illusion, the darkness disappears, the sun starts setting, and Satyaki resumes the battle and defeats everyone. Karna vows to kill Karna's son in that battlefield. In the Kurukshetra battle, he says that I will kill his son because Karna was the instrument in killing Abhimanyu. And Yudhishthira, finally, they all return to Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira meets all of them, Arjuna and Krishna, along with Satyaki and Bhima. Duryodhana cries for the defeat on that day and Jayadratha's death on that day. So, like this, the battle continues. On the 14th day, the evening battle concludes, but the battle on that evening continues. So once normally it would have stopped by that time, but it still resumes. Battle resumes at night. So Yudhishthira battles Duryodhana. Drona kills Drishtadyumna's sons Shibi, and then Bhima kills Kalinga Prince Dhruva, and then Jayadratha. Bhima also kills Durmadan and Dushkarna, his brothers, Duryodhana's brothers. Somadatta, he vows to kill Satyaki because his son Bhurishrava was killed by Satyaki while he was in Praya, and he battles Satyaki and he was defeated. He swoons and he faints away. And then Arjuna, meanwhile, he battles Drona. Ghododgaja comes to battle and battles everyone on the Kaurava side. Anjana Parvan, who is Ghododgaja's son, was killed by Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama kills Rakshasas in thousands and thousands and kills Drupada's son Shatrunjaya, Surata, Balanika, Jayanika, Jaya, Prishadra, Chandrasena, and 10 sons of Kunti, Bhoja, Shritaris, and Shatrunjaya, and like this, Ashwatthama battles. And then Balika, meanwhile, battles Bhima, and he was killed by Bhima. Bhima also kills 10 more brothers of Duryodhana, Nagadatta, Dhritarata, Veerabahu, Ayobhuja, Dhridhara, Sushasta, Viragas, Pramata, and Ugrayayi. So he kills all of them, and then Bhima kills the sons of Karna, who is was known as Virakarata, and then he kills 7 of Shakuni's brothers, Shatachandra, Gavaksha, Sharabha, Vibhu, Subhaga, Bhanadatta. So like this, the battle continues. Drona and Yudhishthira, they battle, but Drona could not win against Yudhishthira, and finally he leaves Yudhishthira and goes after the Panchalas. Duryodhana asks Karna's help. Karna boasts, he proudly says that he is going to destroy everyone, but Krupa reminds him about his ability to his losses against Arjuna and Pandavas many times before, including Bhima earlier in the day many times. And but Karna becomes very angry and he scolds Krupa. At that time, Ashwatthama goes to kill Karna, and Karna starts the battle there. Peace was made by Duryodhana. Ashwatthama and Karna, they again reconcile, they unite together and start attacking. Karna starts destroying the troops, Pandava troops, Panchava troops, and that time. Arjuna defeats him. Drishtadyumna checks Ashwatthama, but large parts of Panchavala troops were killed by Ashwatthama. Satyaki and Somadatta, once more they battle, and Satyaki in that battle this time, he kills Somadatta. So Karna battles Sahadeva, and again Sahadeva was defeated, just like earlier in the day he insulted Bhima. He insults Sahadeva as well this time. But the battle continues with various duels between various warriors. Gadodgija comes to Krishna after Krishna reminds him, uh, and then Krishna remembers him, and then he comes, and then he gets instructions to face Karna. So at that time, Jatasura's son comes and he challenges Gadodgija, and then the battle between takes place. Bhima and Jatasura's son, and he defeats Bhima and he defeats that. Gadodgija at that time, meanwhile, he kills that Alambusha, who is Jatasura's son. At the same time, Alayuda, another Rakshasa, comes and he offers his help to Duryodhana, and he says he wishes to kill Bhima. He goes after Bhima. Bhima was he was overpowering Bhima. At that time, Krishna sends Gadodgija towards him, and the battle takes place between Gadodgija and Alayuda was killed by Gadodgija. Gadodgija then returns again to destroy the Kaurava troops with this illusion, and he battles Karna. He creates night time during his illusion. He creates start destroying Kauravas in large numbers. So all the Kaurava troops, they seek Karna's help, and Karna at that time releases that weapon which was given by Indra, Naikartana. He releases that on Gadodgija, and with that Gadodgija was killed, and Krishna becomes very happy, and he explains the reasons why he became happy. And Yudhishthira at that time goes to kill Karna, but he was stopped by Vyasa himself, and Arjuna asks troops to take rest and resume the battle once moon rises. And like this, then when the moon rises, again the Kauravas, all the troops, both Kauravas and Pandavas take rest. And when the moon rises, they again once again resume battle. But then soon the sun rises. They all finish their morning rituals and then resume day 15 battle. In the day 15 battle, Drona kills early in the day. Drona kills Drupada and Virata, and then Drishtadyumna vows to kill Drona that day. Pandavas separate Drona from rest of the Kaurava troops. Drona is alone, and Krishna suggests that Ashwatthama's death would send Bhishma, make Drona to give up his weapons. So Bhima then kills a elephant named Ashwatthama, and then gives the message to Drona. All the rishis in the sky who are watching this battle, they condemn Drona for engaging in killing. Drona asks Yudhishthira about Ashwatthama's death, and Yudhishthira lies, or he tells that Ashwatthama was killed, which is a horse. Like this, he says, but that horse, he says very mildly. So Drona thinks that his son was killed, and he angrily, in that distress, he releases Brahmastra against the Panchala troops. Even though they were not acquainted with such weapons, he releases against them, which is against the rules of those weapons. Then finally he gives up his weapons and he leaves to Brahmaloka. His Jiva leaves to Brahmaloka, and while his body was still staying on the ground, Drishtadyumna approaches him and he cuts off that Drona's head. Even though everybody was saying, stop, don't do this, Drishtadyumna approaches and he kills him. And then Ashwatthama learns about that act from Yudhishthira lying and then or not telling the full truth or telling the truth correctly, and also about Drishtadyumna, and he vows to punish them and he vows to destroy the Panchala troops. Arjuna and Satyaki, they both scold Drishtadyumna. Bhima supports Drishtadyumna. Satyaki goes to kill Drishtadyumna, and then like this, the battle takes place. Again, Sahadeva consoles both of them, and then again the battle resumes. Ashwatthama at that time comes to battle, and then he releases Narayanastra, that weapon, and then all the Krishna says, all of them give up, they get down from their chariot and then drop their weapons and then worship, just bow their head. So Bhima ignores that and he was consumed, but Arjuna and Krishna rescue Bhima from that weapon. And then angrily Ashwatthama and Arjuna, they battle. At that time, again, Ashwatthama releases Agneya weapon, Agneya Astra, and that destroys an Akshoni of Kaurava troops, and Krishna Arjuna were completely covered by fire. And in that fireball, they were completely covered. But when all this Arjuna finally releases Brahmastra to overcome that, at that time, when he overcomes that, and then Ashwatthama sees that Krishna is still alive and Arjuna is still alive, even though they were completely covered with fire, he leaves the battlefield and goes to Vyasa and asks what is happening, why this has happened. And Vyasa explains that they were none other than Narayana, and Narayana himself, Krishna Arjuna were like that, and explains all the greatness of Narayana. And on that night, uh, again, he explains how Narayana Rishi performed penance of Shiva and got the boon and all those things. Vyasa explains to Ashwatthama. On that, then the battle completes on that day, and then in the evening, Arjuna asks Vyasa, who came there, he asks him, who was that person walking in front of me in the battlefield, holding his shula, his lance in his hand, and destroying everybody in front of me, even though people were thinking I am the one releasing arrows and killing them. Actually, they were already dead before my arrows were hit. So who was that person? And then Vyasa narrates that it is none other than Shiva himself destroying that Kaurava troops, going in front of him, in front of you. So like this, he explains the glories and greatness of Shiva in that Shatarudriya Parva we looked at. So Shatarudriya Stotra we looked at. So that concludes this 15th day of battle and Drona Parva. So Sanjaya, as we looked at last time, Sanjaya says that this narration, this Drona Parva narration, it is the like this that Brahmana Drona battled with great strength, and he fell and he went to Brahma's region at the end of this that in that 15th day. Again, Drona did not battle full 15th day. He died on when the 3/4 of the day was finished, about 10, 11 o'clock in the day morning. He died, and after that Ashwatthama battles, and like this, the 15th day concluded. So Sanjaya concludes saying that this Drona Parva, whoever listens to this, they will get all the merits of studying all the Vedas. Studying of the Vedas, they get the same merits, and those who listen or recite this Parva every day, they will be freed from all the heinous sins, even if it is heinous sins and most atrocious actions they have performed, karmas they have performed, they will be released from all this. Brahmanas attain the fruits of the sacrifice of Kshatriyas, obtain the victory in the battlefield, and Vaishya and Shudra obtain desirable sons, grandsons, and their objective desires from listening to this Drona Parva. So, like this, the Drona Parva was concluded. Uh, Again, we also conclude with that this Drona Parva, and all of you listened also may be blessed with the same blessings as Sanjay narrates as per your participation. So, with that, we conclude this Drona Parva, and next comes Karna Parva. So, the battle of led by Karna, and that runs for 2 more days in the Kurukshetra battle. So, day 16th and 17th, we'll look at that starting next time.